We're live. We are now live. So welcome, viewers, to our special Epidemiology Grad School Application Workshop. I'm Dr. Ray Dionandan, and our special guest today is Liam O'Sullivan, who is a master's student in epidemiology at the University of Ottawa. And our unexpected guest is Dogulus Prime here, who allows me to pretend to be a Bond villain. Do you expect me to talk? No, I expect you to die, Mr. Bond. All right, that's our comedy for the day. So currently, I can't tell how many viewers we have, so we'll assume we have some viewers. So for the viewers who are watching this on Google+, if you have questions throughout the event, please tweet me at Dionandan. You can see my Twitter handle at the bottom of the screen over here. And if you're watching on YouTube, my Twitter handle is also on the YouTube description. But again, it's at Dionandan, and I'm sorry to only accept people on social media Twitter, but that makes my life much easier. And as well, this video will be saved on YouTube for the world to watch afterwards. So let us begin. Let me introduce our special guest. Is Liam O'Sullivan. Looks like we just went 5 seconds ago on YouTube, so it looks like I did all that stuff over again. That's okay. That's okay. If you just joined us, this is the special Epidemiology Master's Grad School Application Workshop that we're doing online. I'm your host. I'm Dr. Ray Dionandan at the University of Ottawa. Our special guest is Liam.
Well,
is a master here for us. And we'll have to introduce the dog again. This is a dog, Dogulus Prime, who allows me to be a Bond villain for the day. So if you have questions throughout the event, please tweet me at my Twitter handle, which is right here, at Dionandan, and I will forward them to Liam, who is at another undisclosed safe location. And if you're watching on YouTube, the Twitter handle is also in the description of the event. All right. So without further ado, we have 3 viewers now. Yay! Excellent.
Welcome.
Hi, viewers. How you doing?
Yes.
Hey, doggy, respond. Look at the. Okay, no, all right. All right. So I'm going to transfer the screen over to Liam now, who will say a few words and then begin the slideshow. Again, if there are any problems or any questions, tweet me at Dionandan. So here we have Liam O'Sullivan. Hello, Liam.
Hello, Professor Dionandan. Thank you for that warm introduction, and hello to all our virtual viewers out there this Saturday morning, and to future viewers on YouTube, I guess. So I am a first-year MSc Epidemiology candidate at the University of Ottawa, and I've come here today on behalf of the Canadian Society of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, the Ottawa chapter, to do a workshop on applying to a lot of MSc Epi programs and MPH programs that I know many of you are thinking about at this time of the year. I was in your boots last year. It is stressful, and I know it's kind of late in the game, but as long as it's before the application deadline, it's never too late. So that's why we're having this workshop here today. And so I'm just going to I guess bring up a short applications presentation via PowerPoint, and then I'll take some time after the 10 or 15 minute presentation to answer a few questions on the Ottawa program and maybe even grad school in general. So I'll just launch right into the PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully I can get this Google Hangout thing to work like it did before.
Take your time.
Yeah. I'm sharing now, yeah?
We see a blank screen right now. There it is. Yep, it's up and running.
You got it? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess before I start, I want to credit these slides to Jason Chan, Emery Terrell, and special thanks to Dr. Dionandan as well for helping me fill in a lot of the blanks. And I'll just tell you, I guess as an outline, what we're going to go over today briefly, where you can apply in Ontario, what are the components required to complete a successful application, and then once you've applied, or shortly before you applied, or if you're planning on applying next year, what else you can do at this stage to strengthen your application and make you stand apart from the pack. And then we'll take some questions. And this is really just an overview, and it's not meant to be the gold standard of information. Definitely, I know many of you are already interested in applying to these programs, and you've been to their program websites, and I think that's really where you need to go to get the final word on what's current. But here, I'm just going to give you an overview to sort of bring you up to speed on a few important details of how to apply to these programs. So what I've got listed here are the programs in Ontario that are available to undergraduate students who are not coming from a professional healthcare degree like an MD or a nursing degree, or if you've completed a pharmacy degree. A lot of epidemiology programs out there are restricted to people with professional healthcare degrees, but these are the ones that are open to us BScs and other honors and undergraduates. So I can speak best to the University of Ottawa program. It is a 2-year program. I'll just see if can you guys see my cursor now? Yeah. It is a 2-year-long MSc, and the application deadline is a week from now, on January 31st. And like many of these programs, they break down in roughly the same way. The first year is largely coursework, which is what I'm going through now, to bring people up to speed on foundational epidemiological concepts, and also to, oh, I'm getting a text from, is it a question? Oh, yes, the slides will be available to viewers later. And I think even Dr. Dianan has might have already posted them. Additionally, this whole presentation will be streamed on YouTube if you need to view it later. So these resources will be made available to you, definitely, yes. So I guess going back to the program, you don't actually start your thesis until the beginning of second year. So many of the applicants don't necessarily have thesis supervisors or principal investigators chosen at the outset of their degree. So if you don't have that set up, don't worry. It's common among the group, but certainly it doesn't hurt your application to already have someone and a research idea picked out ahead of time. The program requirements for the University of Ottawa, like many of the other classes, like many of the other programs in Ontario, require completion of a bachelor, an honors undergraduate degree. What's special about the University of Ottawa is that this has to be with a specialization in a discipline relevant to epidemiology. And on their website, they give a few examples, like a life science major or behavioral science. So I've put on these slides just generally a BSc. Which is different from the other schools, as you'll see. Many of the others really only specify any honors undergraduate. And if you've got a B+ average across the 2 years, you're an eligible applicant, and they'll review your file. The other thing that you need before you apply is to have done well in one second-year stats class. Many epidemiology and public health master's programs want you to demonstrate some kind of proficiency in statistics, since it is such a large component of the type of research that we'll be doing. And for the University of Ottawa, new this year, I guess when it comes to whether it's thesis-based or research-based, there's an option this year. So by default, all matriculants to the program are in a thesis-streamed course, and are expected to develop a thesis advisory committee and a thesis proposal for the second year of their master's degree. But at any point throughout the course of the master's degree, we are allowed to switch out and take a few extra classes and switch the thesis for a major research project, which, since we're the first year, I'm not really sure how to describe it, but based on what the administrators are telling me, it sounds a lot like, for any of you who are currently writing an honors undergraduate thesis, a lot like that. It's the 40, 50-page paper on some secondary analysis of a question related to epidemiology. So next I can move on to talk about the Queen's University program. They offer an MSc Epidemiology, like the University of Ottawa, on a rolling admission. and I think this might be a new thing to their website, but as near as I can tell, they will accept applicants until they think that their program is full. So I couldn't see anything on their website last night that said that they were no longer accepting applicants, and certainly the online registration for applications is still open, so it might not be too late to apply to Queen's either. And their program breaks down really similarly to the University of Ottawa's program, and the prerequisites are very similar as well. And if you don't want to do a 2-year master's, they do offer a Master's of Public Health that touches on a lot of the same epidemiological concepts. And instead of a thesis, what you do is you do a practicum, which is, also sounds a lot like the University of Ottawa's research paper option, where you would essentially pair up with a professor and work on some kind of secondary analysis or statistical analysis of an epidemiological question. Again, you need a stats class and to have done well in a stats class in order to apply. Same with the University of Toronto, so I won't really talk too much about their Masters of Public Health because the deadline's already passed. But for those of you who are going to apply next year, I would encourage going to check out their website. For the most part, the websites are pretty clear on what they're looking for. And I'll wish good luck to anyone who's applied to that program. And the University of Western Ontario also offers an MSc Epi degree, as well as a Master's in Public Health. And the deadlines are a little bit later for those, so if you haven't even started on an application, you might want to think about looking at that. There's a little bit more time to apply to certainly their Masters of Public Health, which is a 1-year program. But even if you haven't, I want to stress that even if you haven't started an application yet, as long as it's before the deadline, it's not too late. In my personal case, I started and completed and submitted my application in the last week of January, which is this week, and it worked for me. So. They're definitely not that rigorous, but we'll talk more about the components, the specific components of the applications in the coming slides. So, some things to consider. Where do you want to go? Which school should I apply to? And that's really going to depend on what kind of research questions you're going to be interested in. So I would recommend, going to these program websites. Many of them have stated very clearly what they're looking for in candidates and the type of research that they do. They also have handy lists of faculty with contact information, and you can even go the extra step and do a PubMed search on a faculty member's name and see what kind of research they're doing. And if it matches your research interests, it definitely doesn't hurt to contact that individual and talk to them about how you can further your own research interests in epidemiology. You can also speak to your academic advisor, so every department will have a designated academic advisor who could help you along the way of furthering your future scholastic endeavors. And that being said, I mean, even if you find a professor that you know at your school now, or one at the school that you hope to go to whose research doesn't quite match the questions that you're going to be interested in, it's good to contact them and talk to them anyways. Maybe they can point you in the direction of someone that they know in their vast network who can help you address those questions. And also, I mean, professors are busy people, but they love when students come, and at least in my experience, they love when students come and ask them questions about their research. And they also like coffee for the most part, so it doesn't hurt to pay them a visit. The other thing you can do, if you're still sort of figuring questions out where you should go, take advantage of networking opportunities that are available to you. So every department will have a seminar series, and you can contact your department and make sure that you get on the mailing list to be updated on when the next seminar is going to happen, and take some time to chat with the person sitting next to you. They may just be a graduate student or another professor who has interesting research, or talk to the presenter at the end of the seminar. Research Day is another thing coming up. So I know for a lot of you in the 4303 class, you guys get your own Research Day, which is great. It'll be judged by, it'll be judged by professors and graduate students who'll be floating around. So you can definitely talk to them about their research after you've finished telling them about your research. And the other thing, there are other research days that are coming up for undergraduate students at the University of Ottawa. I know Europe has a research day, and Dr. Dianandan has let me know that while it is available to Europe's winners and Europe students, people who get permission from their professor or their principal investigator, if they're doing current research, may also be able to present at these conferences, even if you haven't won Europe. So it's good to look into that too. Additionally, I want to do a plug for the Canadian Society of Epidemiology and Biostatistics National Student Conference. That's coming up this June, the first week of June in Toronto, which is a fantastic city, and I would take any excuse to go visit it. And they're looking for student abstract submissions. So February 13th is the deadline for that. And you can check out more details at cseb.ca. Another thing I just want to touch upon, someone asked what the matriculation stats were for the University of Ottawa's MSc Epi cohort. I don't have specific numbers on my class, but I know that the class before me had 25 students. My class had 26. And we were selected out of 150 applicants, so it's almost 20% matriculation rate, which is definitely doable. Is definitely not the most competitive thing out there. So don't be disheartened and keep on that application. So I will talk specifically now about some specific components of the application. And generally, for every program that I looked at, the 4 or 5 programs I presented on the overview slide, they all break down into the same 4 components: the online application, your CV, a statement of interest, which is where you really get to show where your research strengths lie and what specific questions in epidemiology are burning in your heart or your head. And also the required letters of references, which is, if you haven't already spoken with someone, you might want to get onto that right after this presentation is done. So just the CV, I'm not going to belabor the point on the CV. We've all got a CV and submitted it numerous times, I'm sure, but certainly I know I wasn't tailoring my CV to the places I was applying to for the longest time. So if you aren't tailoring your resume, you might want to think about doing it for this application cycle. So you can see many of the components that we recommend, including are common to most CVs, but I've added a research interest section, which I think helps really make explicit specific epidemiological or biostatistics questions that you want to address in your master's work. So it's good to really to write it down as a sentence, in addition to making it evident in your employment history categories, research experience categories, volunteer experience, and definitely don't leave out teaching experience if you've got a TA-ship. Or your extracurricular activities either. So I know that when I was in 4th year, I didn't have any publications, and many of us don't. Kudos to you who do. Definitely want to include that. But what can you write for your research experience if you don't have a formal journal publication, or if you haven't been to a formal conference? You can definitely choose to highlight any relevant coursework or class projects that you've done. For those of you who are doing an honors undergraduate project, I would definitely write in detail what kind of research skills you've gained from that and how that's affected your ability to write reports or do reviews. In addition, I know that, it doesn't have to be a formal conference presentation, but certainly for this class, when you guys do your research day at the end of the year, if you register for the conference and submit an abstract, that's a citable line of research that you can include in your CV. So we're really trying to help flesh out the research section and make your research interests into research realities, I guess. Another thing you can do is start contacting professors right now and look for volunteer research opportunities over the summer or even this spring semester. It's not too late to cram some more research into your CV if that's what you're interested in. Okay, the statement of interest. So this can bog people down for the U Ottawa program. I can speak to anyways. What do you write in the 3 pages? What are they looking for? On their website, they do kind of, well, they give you some guidance on what they're looking for. They want you to demonstrate your research skills, and they're looking for quality more than quantity. Oh, I'm getting another question here, so I'm just going to take a breath and look at this. Is there a specific length that your CV should not exceed? Right, so I didn't touch upon that. I can go back to the slides here for the benefit of this question. I know that for some of us, we have extensive employment history. What I can say about writing CVs is definitely make every component on your CV work towards expressing your research abilities or your interest in the subject or your academic abilities. If there's something in there that's not doing any work towards those 3 goals, then I wouldn't include it. Other than that, I don't think there's a hard page limit. So for example, my employment history is really, really long. I've got jobs going back into high school where I worked at not convenience stores, but grocery stores that have nothing to do with epidemiology, so those were cut. But by the same token, I was also a sous chef in a kitchen, and that has nothing to do with research or epidemiology, but I kept it in my resume because I made it work as an example of leadership and time management. So if you can make it work to make it towards making you a more appealing candidate, then definitely keep it in your CV. Otherwise, I wouldn't say there are any hard page limits to your CV. Just include everything about you that would make you an appealing candidate. So I'll just go back to this. Does that answer the question? I know it's hard to get feedback, but I'll go back to talk about the statement of interest, and I'll keep my phone by my side in case there are more questions. So definitely one of the things they want you to emphasize are your research skills and your capabilities. And you can talk about that in your statement of intent by speaking about what kind of research you have done. So for me, I was very fortunate to have research opportunities at CHEO, and I definitely talked about every single study that I was involved in and what I contributed to that study specifically. Another thing that they want in terms of skills and capabilities, they're going to want you to talk about how comfortable you feel with statistics, and I guess definitely talk about your second year work in statistics, but also want to talk about if you've taken any other upper year courses in statistics, or even for example, I took a population genetics course that used a lot of statistical methods. You can talk about the statistical components of upper year courses. Another thing they want you to talk about is they want to make sure that the applicants that they receive know what epidemiology is, and I know that I'm speaking to an epidemiology class, so most of you will know what that is, but they also want to know how you're going to incorporate that into your degree your future career goals, and what kind of help towards your career goals completion of this master's program is gonna have for you. So it's definitely good to highlight that, and I can take more questions about the statement of interest at the end of the presentation. So another thing that you want to include are your letters of reference, and it might seem a little late to go and bother someone for a letter of reference in a week's time, but I can assure you it is not. Well, for many of us, we've been applying to many different programs at this time of the year, and we probably already have 2 people that we've spoken to write reference letters on our behalf. Certainly that was the case for me last January, and when I approached my 2 referees, they were happy just to crank out another reference letter. I mean, for the most part, these should be people who you've developed a relationship with, and they know you, and they can definitely comment on either your academic or your research abilities. So it's not much trouble for them to write about that because they know it so well. And another thing that you might want to take into consideration is that most professors are expecting students to approach them at this time of the year, and many of them are very used to writing references. Okay, so I've got a question here. Questioner said, I answered this question satisfactorily. All right, thank you. I'll take that as encouragement. So definitely, I know some undergrads have a tendency to gravitate towards professors who have really impressive titles, go for the Canada Research Chairs. But just one note of caution, if they can't flesh out a 1 or 2 page reference letter on your specific academic or research abilities, if they don't know you, then it might not be such a good idea to chase impressive titles. You definitely want to pick professors that you've worked with or who know you, like ones that you've seen frequently in office hours, or ones where you've done well in their class, barring all else. Um, the next point here, give them all the required information in a timely manner. That doesn't really apply at this stage in the game, but it's better than nothing, right? To at least go up and approach people. And like I say, a little coffee can smooth anything, any kind of wrinkles, and can go a long way. And don't feel bad if you need to remind them. Okay, so moving on. What else can we do? If you're not thinking of applying this year, or if you're going to continue and finish your undergraduate degree next year, you might want to work on getting to know your professors and asking them questions, going to office hours, seeing if they know someone who would meet your research interests. This actually applies also for people who are applying to the epidemiology programs. It doesn't hurt to try and contact people at the school that you're applying to, and try and get the ball rolling on setting up a thesis advisor, or reforming your epidemiological question if you need to. Oh, that brings me back. One thing I did want to mention about the statement of interest. If you don't have a lot of research experience that you can write about, one thing you can do is talk about, and I know some of my colleagues did this on their statement of interest, is formulate a really well thought epidemiological question with a PICO. So I don't know if you guys are learning about that now, but that specifies a specific population and an intervention and a comparator and an outcome you're hoping to look at. And I think that can really go a long way towards wowing them in terms of demonstrating your interest in epidemiology. So sorry for that kind of brain fart there. I just wanted to come back and mention that. So I'll just skip forward again, and I'll go back to the what else you can do. Once you've submitted your application, you can also look to gain more practical research experience through research grants. NSERC, CAHR, FSWEP are things you can look into. I didn't go to the University of Ottawa for my undergrad, so I don't know what the timeline for UROP is like, but you can look into that, of course. And if there are any Carleton undergrads out there watching, iCurious is a well-kept secret. I don't know why it is, but I-CUREUS is the Carleton version of UROP that you can look into. You can think about taking the directed readings course. I don't know the course code for that offhand, but definitely speak to your academic advisor about that. And another thing you can do, like I said before, is setting up some kind of volunteer research job with a professor for the summer or even the coming end of spring term. And you can look outside of the school too. CHIO, I know, offers lots of research volunteer opportunities. Look into the support program, so SUPPORT. It's an acronym that I won't remember correctly. It stands for something like Students Undertaking Pediatric something research support at CHIO. And you can also look into the Institute of Population Health. Sorry. And on that note, if for people who want publications on their CV, the Interdisciplinary Journal of Health Sciences is always looking for article submissions. HSS 4900 students are highly encouraged to submit. Excuse me, and I've included the URL there that you can go follow that link and check it out. Okay, so funding is something as people talk about a lot. Questions come up a lot about funding. You can look into external funding opportunities like through OGS and CAHR, and I've included some website links here. Specific departmental program, so certain epidemiology departments might offer some departmental funding, or they might help steer you towards internal funding when you're doing your master's degree. So those are always options to look at as well. And some of them even grant bursaries based on application. What's the word I'm looking for here? Application, academic standing is what I'm looking for. Yeah. I guess as a piece of general advice, for people who might apply next year or for people who have already applied this year, it's always a good idea to start looking for a supervisor early, because even once you've found someone with a good network or who will work on the same kind of ideas that you want to work on, there are many other steps towards completing your thesis, such as submitting to research ethics board and TAC approval that can bog you down. So it's good to get a good head start nice and early on nailing down a thesis supervisor. And if you're not really sure about what kind of path you want to take in epidemiology, just think about what kind of focus you want to have, whether it's on the methodology side or more content knowledge. And here's some useful contacts for each school. I guess since you all have the presentation, I won't really dwell on this slide too long. They're there for you, and certainly there are more contacts on each of the school's websites. So I can take some time for more questions now if anyone has any, and I'll just try and get out of this view in Google Hangouts.
Well, while he works on that, I'll put my face back up on the screen. Thank you, Liam. That was extraordinarily thorough and comprehensive. So while we wait for other questions to arise, if any do, I have a couple of comments. First is, I love your commentary on what goes into the letter of intent. That's very thorough. I have a blog post on my website that goes into detail of some of the strategies you could apply to your letter of intent if you're struggling. So if people want to read that, my website is dionandon.com, myname.com, and you look up the appropriate blog post. As well, you said something interesting about getting letters of recommendation from professors, and that's really important. As somebody who writes 75 letters every semester, it's exhausting, but we expect to do it. I mean, we know we have to do this, and when I was a student, it was an ordeal getting professors to write letters, so I'm quite sympathetic. However, it really helps if you do a few things. Among them, as Liam said, get us the information that we need quickly. Simply knowing your name doesn't give me a whole lot to work with. I had to write a letter a while back not knowing who this person was, not even knowing his or her gender. And so all my pronouns were gender neutral. It was quite the feat of grammatical dexterity. But some of the things that help, if you let us know what year you were in our class, because sometimes people request some years later, what classes you took with us, maybe what grades you got, and it would really help if you mention maybe a couple of assignments that you want us to cite, so we can talk more enthusiastically and comprehensively about your performance in the class. It's also frustrating when we are forwarded these forms to fill out that in which your name is not present. I got to type in your name now. I can't spell your name probably. Or type in your address. I don't know your address. Or very often, I got to fill in the address and mailing address of the school is going to. Well, I don't know that, so you have to provide that for me. Every time I have to do a minute or two more work beyond writing a letter, it's less likely I will do it A, in a timely fashion, and B, as positively as you want me to. The last thing I'll say about that is it's now increasingly rare for us to give the letters to students. Usually a link is created at the university level and that's sent to us. We upload a letter or a reference form of some kind. Rarely now we write a letter, seal it in an envelope, and give it to you. So don't expect that latter case to be the norm anymore. I've had students who don't understand the process and who are bugging me for letters. Where's my letter? Where's my letter? I'm not writing you a letter. The letter is being sent to the school. So be aware of all that. The less work you make for the professor, the more likely it'll get done quickly and in a positive fashion for you. One last tip when it comes to letters of recommendation, make sure when you ask a professor, don't ask, can you write me a letter? Can you write me a positive letter? It's a nuance. So I can write a letter, but a letter might not be very good for you. So make sure that you make it clear to the professor that the letter will be a positive one on their behalf. And if they feel they don't have enough information to write positively about you, either go on to somebody else or give them the information to convince them that your positive case can be made. Right. So, get my Twitter feed here. No new questions. Let me ask you a question, Liam. When it comes to the project that you are expected to do for your thesis, is there a preference in most programs for primary collection over secondary collection?
Um, we recently had a seminar talking about what would constitute an acceptable thesis project, and you can definitely try and tackle a primary collection of data, but you're going to be facing an uphill battle for trying to complete your degree within the 2-year time cycle. Because you remember the first year, most people aren't working on their thesis; they're in classes. It's a lot like undergrad actually, and really they've only allotted the last year to start and complete a thesis. Well, it's like 16 months, right? So this summer is when it'll really start with REB submissions and things like that. So I know that when you're trying to collect your own data, it is possible, and many people do tackle that task. It is possible to do it, but many people also stay for a third year when they choose that option, and it's not a necessary component. I think the administration understands that it's a big job to take on for a year, and they do allow theses questions to be submitted based on the secondary analysis of data or literature that's out there. But of course, those come with steeper stipulations in all other components of quality that they'll list out. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I have another question then, and this is a question a lot of students ask me. I have my opinions on it, and I'd like to hear your opinion. A lot of students who are applying to EPI, their true goal is medical school.
Oh man.
Now, how transparent do you think they should be in the truth of their true goals? My opinion is we don't want to know that, in fact, we are not your first career option. On the
Yeah.
other hand, there's something said for honesty. What do you think?
I think that an MSc Epi pairs really, really well with a professional health degree, and certainly the majority of my classmates are physicians in their residency or pharmacists or nurses. And the program is used, I think, to interacting with healthcare professionals in that way. Personally, I'm in that boat. I did apply to medicine this year, and I made it clear in my statement of intent that, look, I'm looking to, because they asked you to talk about your career goals, and I included one of my career goals as doing the MD program and working as a physician, but also as a physician who does research, because many physicians do clinical research or epidemiological research. And certainly that's the reason why so many of my classmates are in this course. So I think definitely it's good to be upfront, but make sure that you highlight your interests in epidemiology. Don't go on and on about how much you want to be a physician and have epidemiology be an afterthought. You want to make sure that you're applying to the program because you really have an interest in epidemiology or biostatistics.
And that takes me to my next question for you, and that is the degree of biostatistics that students can expect in a program, and also how much statistics background do you think they should have? Increasingly, I'm finding my undergrads aren't as statistically aware or prepared as perhaps they had been in previous generations, and I'm feeling that the admissions committees on a variety of epidemiology programs are looking increasingly for exquisite statistical skills. What do you think about that?
That's right, and I've kind of looked at just judging from the websites. Many of them mention that you have to have had an A- in a stats course, and I think that might not be a bad recommendation. The first statistics course that I took in the first semester of the masters, it wasn't so math heavy because I guess many people can take their epidemiology degree in a direction that doesn't necessarily include a rigorous investigation of statistical methods. Some people, especially the physicians conducting clinical research, rely on a team that they work with, which includes a biostatistician. So, I mean, with your epidemiology degree, you can choose to go the heavy biostats route, or you could choose not to. But that being said, there is a sort of baseline understanding of statistics that you need to have that I think a second-year stats course is a really good judge of. because certainly the first year MSc course looked a lot like the second year stats course, except with more emphasis on how these statistical concepts can be applied to epidemiological questions.
Uh, oh, excellent. So I have a question here on Twitter. Someone wants to know,
Oh,
how do you make stand out from the rest?
your voice is cutting out. Say that again, please.
I'll do it again. I'll do it again. The question on Twitter is, how do you make your rest?
How do you make the rest? It cut out again. I'm sorry. Is that the right?
Okay, I'm going to send it to you by text then. Here we go.
Okay. Thanks, Ray.
How do you make your letter stand out from the rest?
Oh, I heard you very well
Here we
that
go.
time.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm getting the text. Great. That's a really good question. And I haven't looked at everyone's letter very thoroughly, so I don't. I have heard anecdotally that some people do include, like I said before, a PICO statement, or really try and focus on their interest in epidemiology. And for me, I like, okay, I guess we can break it down to basically three components. You want and this sorry, this is also applicable only to the University of Ottawa program. I mean, you should definitely visit the websites for other programs to get a specific idea of what they're looking for in a statement of interest. But for the University of Ottawa's MSc Epi program, they wanted to see your some demonstration of your interest in health research at a population level or an epidemiological research. So if you can show that through your experience, which is what I did in my case, I highlighted a lot of, well, my undergraduate honors thesis, as well as a lot of the research projects I was involved in at CHEO. I think it's a great opportunity to look into doing research at CHEO. But barring that, definitely talk about burning epidemiological questions that you have, and if you can try and frame it into a PICO statement, that's a good approach too. Also, what you could do is, I know many of us have already been in contact with a lot of professors. You could try and get in contact with faculty at the school that you're looking to apply to, and try and formulate a better research question that way. So they want to show the letter wants you to express your interest in epidemiology and your understanding of what the program has to offer, and tie that to your research goals and career goals. And I guess the other two components is to demonstrate your academic ability and your general research abilities. So play those up. That's what I would do.
Those are excellent answers, and I think I know who the student is who actually asked that question, and I don't think she'll object if I explore the specifics of her situation. If this is the student I'm thinking of, she wants to know, in the phraseology and the style of the letter, is it appropriate to perhaps be a little more colloquial so that the letter pops a bit? I don't think so. My bias is that the people on admissions committees tend to be dry and boring and don't want to see anything deviating from the most professional kinds of submissions.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would agree with you, actually. Yeah, I mean, what's the benefit of using more colloquial phraseology? Sorry, I missed that. Your voice was kind of...
Oh, I'm sorry. My connection must be poor. Okay, she talked a bit about, I didn't want to pursue this, my path towards working under the golden arches, meaning epidemiology, that kind of thing. So there's a kind of ironic, sarcastic, but amusing phraseology.
Oh, I see.
Entertaining, but may not be appropriate for a business-style letter.
Yes. I think the risks of coming off unprofessionally when you choose to go the entertaining route are too great when you weigh them against the rewards. This is going to be your first impression to the admissions committee and to the administration of the program you're hoping to do a serious 2 years of research with, and I think it's best to err on the side of dry and professional as opposed to entertaining. Certainly, I went very, very formal with mine. I thought back to any kind of even grade school training I've had in letter writing and got everything in all the right formatting and used very professional language, and I kept it concise. Brevity is key. Definitely only include a sentence in your statement of interest if it's going to add to describing your research skills and abilities, your interest or understanding of the program, and your academic skills and abilities. Don't use all 3 pages if you don't have to, but definitely I wouldn't go the entertaining route. That would be my advice.
I tend to agree 100%. In fact, I would say bring it down to 2 pages if you can. The ones that I've read for our graduate program, we kind of like it a page and a half. Get to the point. We read 20 to 40 in one sitting. So remember that the people reading these letters aren't poring over them looking for poetic style, looking for specific information, and more than not, they're looking for information to overcome a weakness that manifests from your transcripts. So if you have, let's say you got like a B minus on your stats class and an A minus, and maybe there's a reason you got a B minus. Your grandma that year or something. Here's your chance to explain away some failings. Right. So use your intent also as an opportunity to overcome weaknesses, not to sell the strengths.
It's good advice.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Well, I don't think we have any more questions here. So do you have any closing statements for the students?
I know it's a stressful time of year. Take some time out to exercise and treat yourself to a $5 cup of Starbucks if you have to. And good luck on all your applications. And definitely don't hesitate to try and contact me through Dr. Deonandan about further questions you might have.
Great. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks.
I'm going to make the slides today available on the YouTube link. So in the description of the YouTube channel, I'm going to put a link to a Google document containing these slides. And as always, viewers can tweet me at Deonandan, and I will either try to answer your question or pass them on to Liam or somebody else. So without further ado, thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for excellent questions, and thanks again, Liam.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.